What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Cincinnati Bearcats are up next. Cincinnati coming off a very tough season last year, going 3-9 overall in 2023. And also, it was their first year in the Big 12, so not even coming close to making it to a bowl game. And remember, this is usually one of the top group of 5 teams from a couple years ago, but coming to the Big 12, maybe that really made it tough for them. So again, not a really good season last year for Cincinnati and Scott Satterfield's first year as well. My thoughts on this team for 2024: Cincinnati is going to be a little bit more experienced this year, but they're definitely not going to have the roster talent and everything. In my opinion, this could be one of the bottom teams in the Big 12 coming up this year. Their schedule is not that horrible, but you look at the offensive side of the football, they could be very solid there. So I think their offense will be very solid, but then the defense is what I'm concerned about here for Cincinnati. That defense is just really not absolutely loaded. So, and again, this roster is just really not loaded with talent and everything. So this team could be probably at the bottom of the Big 12. So let's now get to the schedule here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Cincinnati. Again, they were 3-9 last year in 2023. So let's now go game by game and give you my prediction here for this Cincinnati football team. Let's start things off with Townsend here on August 31st. Should be a pretty easy win here for Cincinnati to start out the year. So I got the Bearcats starting off 1-0, and then they play Pittsburgh at home here on September the 7th, of course, in a rematch from last year in the non-conference. Cincinnati really shocked a lot of people last year, beating Pittsburgh on the road, and Pittsburgh ended up being a disappointing team last season, and Cincinnati just didn't really have a good year the rest of the way. We thought Cincinnati would actually have a good momentum after beating Pittsburgh from last year, but this year I think Pittsburgh's going to be a lot better. I think they're definitely the better team here in this one. Cincinnati will come out really fired up in this game, but I think Pittsburgh will definitely be out for revenge on this Cincinnati team. Again, it's a rematch from last year. Pittsburgh definitely out for revenge in this one. I think it's a close game. It's a low-scoring type game, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh here, even though playing at home. Cincinnati is playing at home in this one. I'm going to go with the Panthers here to get the win. Again, I think that's a revenge factor type game here for this Pittsburgh team, so I got Cincinnati losing their first game here of the season. That puts their record at 1-1. Then they'll take care of business against Miami of Ohio here on the road on September 14th. They played this team also last year. Miami of Ohio actually was a really good team out of the Sun Belt, so I don't really expect an easy game here for Cincinnati. Maybe they start off slow, but I think they'll probably pick it up right, in the second quarter and probably win this game by 10 to 17 points, somewhere in that range. So I got Cincinnati starting off 2-1 going into conference play. They'll play Houston here to open up Big 12 play at home here on September 21st. I done my prediction for this game already. I did choose Cincinnati to win this game. I think this is a pretty even matchup. You got Houston with a first-year head coach. I think the future is definitely looking bright here for the Cougars. They brought in some transfers to help them out. So this will be a game where I think Houston will be favored in, but maybe Cincinnati pulls it off. I think Cincinnati pulls off a huge win here in this one to start off Big 12 play. And again, I think it's a pretty even matchup as well. Again, you got two young head coaches here going at it. So I got Cincinnati getting the win here. That puts their record now here at 3-1. Next game will be on the road here at Texas Tech on September 28th. Very tough place to play. Texas Tech, I think, is going to be a lot better this year. I do expect this team to be right around 6, 7, 8 wins, somewhere in that range. And I think it will be a competitive here for the first half between these two teams, but Texas Tech, I think, probably pulls away in the second half and probably wins this one by 10 to 14 points. And plus, playing at home, I think Texas Tech definitely wins this one. So I got to go with Texas Tech there. That drops Cincinnati now to 3-2 here on the season. Next, they'll play UCF here on the road on October 12th. They get a bye week before playing this game. UCF is going to have a lot of talent on their roster. They do have a lot of playmakers on their roster as well. Cincinnati gets a bye week before playing this game, so maybe the bye week does help out Cincinnati just a little bit here to compete here for a half or two and everything, but I think at the end of the day, though, UCF is a much more better team. Again, they're definitely a more well-coached team as well. And I've already chosen UCF to win this game when I did my UCF video from a few days ago. So I'm going to go with UCF here to get the win. So that's 2 losses in a row now for Cincinnati after starting off, 3-1, I should say. That drops them now to 3-3. They'll play Arizona State here next on October 19th. Done my prediction for this game already from yesterday. I think it's a pretty even matchup here between these two teams. 2 second-year head coaches going at it. Arizona State, I think, is going to be a lot better this year. They do have some experience coming back on both sides of the football, but this is a tough one to call. I've been kind of back and forth on this game, so home field advantage, I think, will be the difference here. Kind of like the Houston game, it's a pretty even matchup, and I think both teams are pretty even. So with that being said, I think Cincinnati gets a big win here against Arizona State here on October 19th, so that puts them now here at 4-3. Next, they'll play Colorado here on the road here on October 26th. This is where the schedule kind of gets tougher for Cincinnati down the stretch. Right after that Arizona State game, they'll play Colorado the next week, and then, of course, they'll play West Virginia, Iowa State on the road, Kansas State on the road, and then, of course, TCU here at home. That's a really tough stretch there from, the last weekend in the month of October and then going into the last weekend in the month of November. But back to Colorado here. A very tough place to play. I think Colorado is going to be a really good on the offensive side of the football. The defense might have some question marks, but I think they'll be a little bit better there as well. So this game could probably go 2 different ways. I mean, it could be a shootout. Cincinnati can try to run the football and, keep that Colorado offense for, off the field for as long as possible, but I do like Colorado a lot more in this game. I think also playing at home, that's a very tough place to play. It's close maybe in the first half, but second half Colorado runs away in this one, so I'm going to go with the Buffaloes here to get the win. So that drops Cincinnati now to 4-4. They get a bye week here before playing West Virginia at home on November 9th. So they get a bye week before playing this West Virginia team, a West Virginia team that, is probably going to be a top 25 team this year. I think the Mountaineers are going to be really good. They do have a lot of experience coming back. But, Cincinnati might come out really fired up in this one after a bye week and everything. This could potentially be one of those upset alert type games either way. But I think I like West Virginia's roster a little bit more than Cincinnati's. I think West Virginia is also definitely a more well-coached team than Cincinnati is. So with that being said, West Virginia gets a close win here. I'm going to go with West Virginia here to beat Cincinnati at their home place. So I got Cincinnati now dropping to 4-5. They play Iowa State here next on the road on November 16th. Another very tough game here on the road. Iowa State also a very experienced team. I think this Iowa State team is going to be a top 25 team this year. And they're also a big dark horse contender in the Big 12 as well. So I don't really expect a close one here. I think Iowa State playing at home probably blows out Cincinnati, maybe by, 20-something points, but you never know. I mean, it's in the month of November. Cincinnati probably is better by this time, and they will be competitive for a little while, but I'm going to go with Iowa State here either way. Again, they're definitely the better team and also the more well-coached team, and also definitely the more experienced roster as well. So I got Cincinnati now dropping to 4-6. They got to win these last 2 games now to get to a bowl game, but they'll get Kansas State here on the road on November 23rd, another very tough place to play. They got back-to-back road games. Forgot to mention that earlier with Texas Tech and UCF. They got back-to-back road games there with Texas Tech and UCF, but they get a bye week in between those 2 back-to-back road games, so it's not brutal, but you get back-to-back road games here with Iowa State and Kansas State. 2 very tough back-to-back road games there. I think, Cincinnati is really beat up after the loss to Iowa State from last week, and I think that really affects them going into this game against Kansas State. So I don't think this game will be all that close. I got to go with Kansas State here to get the win, so that drops Cincinnati now to 4-7. So no bowl game this year for this Cincinnati team, and then they'll close things out here with TCU at home here on November 30th. I think Cincinnati really tries to come out fired up for this one. They're kind of desperate to win 5 games at the end of the year and everything, but I think TCU is definitely a better team here. I think they're going to be a lot better this year as well. And plus, just like, West Virginia, Iowa State, and Kansas State, they're definitely a well-coached team. And that same thing goes to Texas Tech and UCF. I do like TCU's roster a little bit more than Cincinnati's here, so I'm going to go with the Horned Frogs here to get the win. So I got Cincinnati losing their final game here of the regular season, and also those 5 games there from that stretch from October 26th to November 30th. And I got Cincinnati officially going 4-8 here for 2024. Again, it's not really a big improvement from last year. This schedule is really this schedule is not really all that tough. They got Houston and Arizona State at home. You got West Virginia and TCU at home. I think those two games are pretty winnable in the Big 12. I don't really see them beating Colorado, UCF, and Iowa State and Kansas State, though. And then same thing goes with Texas Tech. I don't really see them winning any of these games. I don't think Cincinnati just really doesn't have that roster to compete with all these, top teams and dark horse contenders in the Big 12 as well. But again, 4-8 is what I'm going to go with here for Cincinnati. Again, that's my prediction here for the Cincinnati Bearcats for 2024. So let me guys know what you think about this Cincinnati team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.